the end of the day, we want every question we do to look like one of these. Either a fraction equal to another fraction, or a fraction plus or minus a fraction equals something. If you can get something to look like this, it's easy. How are we going to solve this first one? We need a common denominator. That's always the first thing you need. It's the only way you can do fractions is a common denominator. What would your common denominator be for that first one? 4b. Yeah. So the first thing needs to be multiplied by what? 4. Times by 4. The second one needs to be times by what? Yeah. Nothing. You don't have to do anything with the second one. It already has 4b as the denominator. The other side of the equal side needs to be times by what? 4b. On the top and the bottom. What was on the bottom of that 3? 11. That's simple multiplication. 4 times 2 is 8. Divided by 4 times b is 4b. Minus 5 over 4b, because we didn't have to do anything to that one, is equal to 4b times 3 is 12b. Divided by 4b. Not hard, right? And now we have something we can do a trick to. We have all denominators the same, and we have an equal sign. So what can we do? Eliminate all the denominators. You can only do that if you have all denominators the same and an equal sign. You can't do that if there's no equal sign. 8 minus 5 equals 12b. That's 3 divided by 12 equals 8 minus 5 is 3. Divide both sides by 12. Not so hard, right? And when we do these word problems, they come out to be questions like this that aren't too crazy hard. There's a couple challenging questions on that quiz that were pretty big. You don't say anything like that. And yeah, you could for sure. You could call it 1 over 4. That'd be okay. Or 0.25. Also okay. Okay, let's try the second one. Anytime you have fractions, you need a common denominator. What's our common denominator between these two things going to be?
N minus 3.
M plus 3 times n minus 3, because we put brackets around. So, how are we going to get the left thing to have a common denominator of m minus 3?
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Would you simplify it further?
Emily, what was your question? Yeah, for sure.
Over 4. Yeah, would you write, which one would be the right answer?
They're all the right answer. It's literally what we just all talked about when you were texting.
My mom.
Yeah, it could. 1 over 4 or 0.25. All are the same answer, all are good.
Okay.
Okay, what do we have to multiply the first thing by to get that common denominator? n minus 1, or 3. That's what it's missing. What's the one on the right missing? What's going to happen to my denominators? They're going to cancel out. Why are they going to cancel out? They're the exact same, and we have a equal sign. So these are going to go away. I'm left with 4 n minus 3 equal to m plus 3. 1 times m plus 3 is just m plus 3. You don't have to follow. You're going to now multiply the 4 right. So it becomes 4m minus 12 equals m plus 3. I want all the m's on one side, everything else on the other. So it's going to be 3m is equal to 15. The m is equal to 5.
Wait, what?
I added 12 to both sides. Subtracted that m over there. Divided both sides by 3. M equals 5. Added 12 to both sides. Get 15. Subtracted 1m from both sides to get 3m. Divided both sides by 3. Julie, put it away. Not hard, right? Okay. Setting up the questions is hard. But that's why it's so important that we set them up properly. So, let's read through one of these. That last slide is just the 3 types of questions we're going to have. So it's a good little checklist for you. Mario drove from Edmonton to Grand Prairie and back, a distance of about 360 kilometers both ways. Mario's average speed was 30 kilometers an hour greater on his return trip than on his trip out. His total driving time was 10 hours. Determine Mario's average speed on each leg of the journey. So we want to find his speed on the way there and his speed on the way back. What was his speed on the way there? 30 kilometers was less than on the way back. So, but do we know what it was? No, so we're going to say V. We're going to say V was the speed there, which means what was the speed back? V plus 30 equals speed back. Now these questions can be complicated. So if you're looking at that and you're like, I have no idea, that's okay. There's that commercial out right now where they ask a bunch of adults, like when 2 trains gonna crash into each other, and it's a Hyundai commercial, I think, and none of the adults can figure it out because it's confusing to set up. But once you set it up, it's easy. So we have to figure out how we're going to set it up. How long did the total trip take them? Well, that's something we know. Now, if you were calculating how long it took you to go somewhere, if it takes me 20 hours to drive to Red Deer, 20 minutes to get to Red Deer, 25 minutes to come back, maybe I hit some bad red lights, how long did it take me? 55 minutes. So you figure out your total time by doing time there plus time back. So that's what we're going to do. 10 hours is equal to time there plus time back. Now we got a bigger problem on our hands because we don't know what time it is either. Give it a shot. Okay. Maya, give it a shot.
Then would you like put an equal sign that like it's like 740 kilometers?
It's not a bad thought, but I have a different plan because that would get you your average speed overall. But we want average there than average back. Amber, what's an idea?
Would it be like 10 equals 360 divided by x plus 360 divided by x plus 30?
That's a great idea. Yeah. This is why. So, the time there. How do you figure out how long it's going to take you to get somewhere?
You take how far it goes and you divide it by how fast.
Exactly. So if I need to go 200 kilometers and I'm driving 100 kilometers an hour, how long would it take me? 2 hours. 2 hours. Because you divided 200 by 100. So that's what we need to do. We need to divide how far it took to get there by how fast you're going. So 10 is going to be equal to 360 because that's how far we went, divided by how fast were we going when we were headed there. V. V. That was just our regular speed on the way there.
So find that would you because would you
Okay. Sorry.
because then you have to rearrange it, right? So
We still need to figure out our time back. How long did it take us to come back?
I thought 10 hours was like the entire length, so wouldn't it just be 5 hours there and 5 hours back?
Not quite, because you went faster on the way back.
Or
Right.
because you were looking for a chicken.
Wouldn't you put 60?
Yeah, so the way back was still 360 kilometers, but it's divided by the speed plus 30 more kilometers an hour. We spent a little bit.
And you told me that on a plane.
Now we've got an easy equation that looks just like our easy equations. So let's come back and let's try to solve this thing. I'm going to erase that stuff on the right. I'm also just going to draw a nice green line down the middle of this split. Okay. How are we going to add fractions?
You get common denominator.
Denominators. What's your common denominator going to be? This is a little tricky. B plus 30 would not be the common denominator.
No, B
What's Dawson?
bracket.
Dawson, what's your one thing? First thing you do.
Brackets.
Put brackets around it. That's one thing. So now what's your common denominator? B times B plus 30 is your common denominator. Because if you, how would you add 30 to the bottom of this thing? But you can't just add fractions. Now you have the same problem. But you can multiply fractions really easily. So we would multiply this by the fraction b plus 30 divided by b plus 30. Yeah, b squared plus 30b. Okay. This is what happens when you guys want to just talk it out and go really fast. This one. Work it out and go slow. I know that's what I'm going to show you. If you jump 2 steps ahead through words, we need to go 1 step at a time through action. And yeah, you're seeing it now.
I just like distributed it.
Exactly.
Big square.
Exactly. Okay. You guys just get ahead of yourself so much. Just slow down. Like you're driving yourselves crazy. You're driving me crazy too. But you're just hurting yourselves by trying to go so fast.
Where's your deck?
Yeah. Okay. You said the common denominator was b times b plus 30. Okay, look at the first thing. How am I going to get that denominator to be b over times b plus 30? There's a 1 there. What do I have to multiply the top and the bottom by? b times b plus 30 on the top and the bottom.
Why is there no 1 over there? Why can't it just be b squared plus 30? Because you said there's 1 here.
Oh, because the
There's a b
equals
there.
into both of them, doesn't it? Oh.
Okay, Jocelyn.
Since it's like equals and they're going to cancel out anyways, could you just write b squared plus 30?
For sure. Yeah, you could do just the, they're all going to cancel out, so you can do just the tops if you want to. How are we going to get a common denominator in this first fraction?
Plus 30.
Multiply just by b plus 30 on the top and the bottom. How are we going to get a common denominator of b and b plus 30 on the last one? Multiply the top and the bottom by b. Your bottoms will all cancel. Why will they cancel? You have an equal sign and they're all the same. On the top, you're left with b times b plus 30 times 10, and it's equal to 360b plus b squared plus 10,800.
What?
Because 360.
360 times 30. And the last one is just plus another 360b. They are big numbers. Keep it.
Because you have 2 360Bs, could you add them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Shay, if you have a question, put your hand up. Stop just saying things aloud. Okay, the side on the left, you're going to distribute everything in. So it's going to become b squared plus 30b, and then you're going to multiply it all by 10. So it's going to be 10b squared plus 300b. It's equal to, like Keely said, 720b, so we combine our b's, plus 10,800. Not quite, we need an answer for b. We have a quadratic. To solve a quadratic, you have to get everything to one side. So I'm going to subtract 720v and it subtracts 10,800. And I'm going to get 10v squared minus 420v, because that's what 300 minus 720 is. And I get minus 10,800.
Can't you take 10 out of all of this?
Let's wait till we get to that step. Well,
Okay. Is everyone good to this one? Yeah. Now you have to factor that. You could factor it. You could quadratic formula it. You could graph it and find the x-intercepts. All three would get you the same answer. I'm going to factor it because I can demonstrate factoring it. You're going to factor a 10 out, like Julie said. So 10 that comes on the outside, I'm left with b squared minus 42b minus 1080. If I diamond method that, things that multiply to be negative 10,080 and add to be negative 42 is going to be negative 60 and 18.
Would you actually just do that in your
That's like agony.
Thanks, Mr. Finch.
I put it in a calculator and it's not showing up. That means that
Oh, your window's flat.
that is what.
Okay, so this factors out to be b minus 60 and b plus 18 equals 0. You could get rid of it. Yeah. I'm just reading it then. Doesn't hurt to move it.
Would the 8 plus 18 not work? Is the actual answer like negative 18?
Exactly. So if you go to solve this thing, you would say v is equal to 60 and negative 18. Why doesn't negative 18 make sense? You don't have negative velocity. You're not going to drive somewhere in backwards velocity, right?
And the velocity is the acceleration.
So velocity is not going to be negative in this course.
Why? Because it's so long, your plus is going to be 60.
What makes it a 0? 60. That would be your speed. Okay,
Wait, that's
just wait, because we got a problem. 60 is not your answer. And they start having conversations. 60 is not the answer. V was your speed on the way there. So 60 was your speed on the way there. What was your speed on the way back? 90. So that's your two answers, 60 and 90.
you still have to do this.
You don't because you're answering a word problem, but you need to check them. Are 60 and 90 both allowed to be answers? Yes. Your non-permissible values were negative 30 and 0. You need to. That's not asking what it is. Saying, what was the speed? Good? Let's try it again.
Oh Lord.
So, there's a lot of these, and you can see they take a long time to solve. So we're going to set them up and not actually solve them out.
Okay.
It's so rude. Just stand up while I'm talking and go across the room and start a conversation. Yeah, well, like, There's 100 polite ways to solve that problem.
Well, I can't just sit here thinking about thirstiness if I'm trying to focus on this.
Yes, Bailey. Can I please have a drink, Mr. Kennedy?
I know.
Bailey, I would be delighted
That's-
if you would quench your thirst.
Like, it worked. Yeah.
No, stop.
You could have just been
Look at the interruption we have now.
Well,
You made a big deal of it.
What did you guys all miss when I talked about?
everything.
Exactly! So now I have to reteach the same question 5 times. No, now you've disrupted everybody. Because you have to ask me a question that I've already answered.
Mr. Kennedy,
I was overwhelmed to do that.
I know.
I don't think
sorry.
I'm not just fed up with you.
Wait, is this still recording?
Yeah, it is.
Anton, what?
You have all the videos up.
Okay, I'll make sure I get them.
Yeah.
I think they might, the last 2 aren't that far there.
No.
Sure they are. Okay. So, Jerome rows his boat 24 kilometers downstream.
How do you... Wait, how do you...
Jerome rows his boat 24 kilometers downstream and back to where he began. So he goes downstream and then back.
That's a long word.
That's a long way.
Going upstream? Why am
Well, that's a Olympic level to like row a boat.
When the average speed of the current is 2 kilometers per hour, Jerome can complete the journey in 9 hours. So to go there and back takes 9 hours. What is Jerome's average rowing speed in still water?
That is
Correct.
That's what I just used to do.
Okay,
That's
not impossible.
It's just saying that if he was on a lake.
but instead downstream and back.
Guys,
Guys.
it's like this is why they gave us the short.
I don't want any more questions. We're just not going to talk. You're just going to watch me do more. Because this doesn't work. So, you have to figure out how long it took. It took 9 hours total, which is equal to the time there plus the time back. Right? That's what makes sense. However long it took to get there plus how long it took to get back, that's going to be 9 hours, since that's all it took. To figure out how long it took to get there, you need to go the distance divided by the speed. The distance was 24 kilometers. The speed on the way there was v plus 2 kilometers an hour since he's going downstream. So that current is pushing him a little faster than he's actually rowing. On the way back, his speed, distance is the same, but his speed is v minus 2 because he's got 2 kilometers pushing back on him now. So he's fighting the current. It's slowing him down. V is how hard he's rowing, how fast he's actually rowing. 2 is either the momentum he's gaining or the momentum he's losing, depending on which way you're going. We're just going to plug those in. That is the time it takes to get there. That is the time it takes to get back. So you're going to have 9 is equal to 24 divided by v plus 2, and then plus 24 divided by v minus 2. The only way you're going to be able to combine those fractions is to get a common denominator. The common denominator needs to be multiplied. You're not going to add or subtract to get a common denominator. So we add our brackets. Just to remind ourselves that's one thing, and that's one thing. The only way you can combine them is to multiply. So your common denominator is going to be v plus 2 divided by, or times v minus 2. These two things multiply together. That's your common denominator. The first thing needs to be multiplied by both. The middle thing needs to be multiplied by v minus 2. And the third thing needs to be multiplied by v plus 2. I'm going to write those in red of what it had to be multiplied by. Just erase my colors. V plus 2 and v minus 2. This one has to be multiplied by v minus 2. This one has to be multiplied by v plus 2. Your denominators will all cancel out. So that's what you're left with, which is whatever's on the top. I'm going to write that out a little bit neater, and then we're not going to solve this problem. So, v plus 2 times v minus 2 times 9 is equal to 24 times v minus 2 plus 24 times v plus 2. You need to FOIL that out, move everything over, get a quadratic, solve it. I'm not answering the question because we're not going to have time. So I expect you guys to be able to solve those now. So if you need to take it home, which I highly suggest, and try to finish the question, and if you get stuck, come find me. But if you can do it, then great. Any question now about how I set all that up? No.
We're trying to figure out the still water. Why do we still have the 2?
Because he wasn't actually going in still water, right? V represents his speed in still water, but the actual speed to get there was V plus 2 kilometers because he was getting pushed the whole way. And then V minus 2 because he was getting pushed the other way on the way back up. So V represents speed in still water, but these two things represent the speed depending on which way he's going. Awesome.
Like I know it's like more, or the question like more confusing. When I go and he's like stuff like these, they never like take into account like speed and stuff. Like 9 hours.
Yeah, like realistically, you'd have to be a freak out to be able to do it for 9 hours, not for 10. Yeah, and like you need to take a ton of training. It was not just going to be some average Joe who does that. But if you look at like a marathon runner or something, like someone who runs crazy distances, they train. Well, you run, right? You train to try to be able to go the same speed every kilometer. Like you check your splits, right? So guys who really do this stuff know that they can stay at consistent speed the whole way. They pace themselves really well. And 9 hours of rowing, I don't think that's ever possible. But okay. This one we're just going to set up. We're going to find a common denominator. Oh, we might. This one's a little tricky. Because this one's got a little bit of a trick to it. A boat travels at an average speed of 15 kilometers an hour in still water. The boat travels 12 kilometers downstream in the same time that it travels 8 kilometers upstream. Determine the average speed of the current.
Is this one wants to get a fraction?
Exactly. This is one of the situations where you'd have a fraction equal a fraction. The reasoning is the same. That means equal. So that means you have a fraction equal a fraction. The time it took to get there, or to go 12 kilometers, was the same as it took to go 18 kilometers. How do we calculate how long it takes us to travel places? We go distance divided by speed. So we went 12 kilometers. That was our distance. Our speed was 15 kilometers an hour. But we're going downstream. So it's 15 kilometers an hour plus, I'm going to use C for current. So 15 kilometers an hour plus the current's pushing me. That time is the same amount of time that we have over here, which is 8-kilometer trip at a speed of 15 minus C, because I had to come back up the current. So the current was slowing me down. Go ahead, Elsa. we have a question how I said that. 'Cause that's a tricky one.
You said the minus C is going against the current?
Going against the current. So I would be going 15 kilometers an hour, but I'm coming up the stream, so it's slowing me down. So it represents slowing down, we do minus.
So still, if I have the force of the current against me, having a force against myself?
Think about it like running into the wind. Way slower, right? It's against you. So you're going a slower speed. So you have to take away that speed that it's slowing you down. It's always better with something that like you actually have felt. If we've never gone boating up a stream, it might not make as much sense. But if you do, you realize just how miserable current makes your life. It doesn't seem like it, but it really, really does. You swim so hard and go nowhere. It sucks. Yeah. Did you have a question? That's okay. Alright. Well, we're not good. How would we solve it? Get a common denominator. What would your common denominator be? Yeah. Multiply that one by minus c, that one by plus c, and work your way out. Like I said, I want to try to set these up. If we have time, we'll come back and solve them, so don't worry about solving them right now. But I want to try to get all these set up, because setting them up is the hard part. Solving them should be the easy part.
Just like kind of like not much with it, but if you were to solve the last one, you get like a couple numbers on top as you put it on the other side, like the numbers on the other side. You make the one side zero, and then you solve it for the last one. That's way easier.
Way easier. Okay. These are hard. So these are rate of work problems. I like the other one better because it's easier to visualize. But we'll do this one first. So, Kyra can mow a lawn in 40 minutes. When Mark and Kyra work together, they can mow the same lawn in 24 minutes. How long would it take Mark to mow the lawn by himself? Here's how I visualize this. And I wish my colors would work. Yeah, I can get them to work. How this thing works? I don't know. Anyways, it's nice that the colors are working. Because it makes it super representative.
What are you trying to do?
I'm trying to get my colors.
Are they all soft?
They're all black. You know why?
Just grab
Something you can
some regular.
Yeah, I just follow
Right, very good.
They went back to
Hey, green works. Blue works.
just that.
So the red's just broken. Okay.
This is the black one.
Okay, that's good. We can do it with blue and green. So, there's a lawn. Okay? Same lawn. Kyra's green. So, Kyra's green. She mows the lawn by herself. She starts mowing. She mows all the way across. Takes her 40 minutes. This is how I like to visualize it. Kyra's going to start on one corner, Mark's going to start on the other corner, and they're going to work towards each other. So Kyra's going to mow, and she's going to go about this far until she crashes into Mark, who's now been doing his job and only did that much. And the reason I like to visualize it like this is because it shows me they each did one fraction of the lawn. And I like that because that means if they mowed one lawn together, she did this fraction plus he did that fraction equals one lawn. which is exactly how our formula is going to be set up. Fraction plus fraction equals 1 log. I like the visual that it creates when you actually picture these things. Our next one is shoveling snow. It's the same idea. All these rate of work questions are going to work like that. So how many times does it take to do something, and then when they help, it's this much less time. But you can only do, you're not actually doing the whole thing together, right? You're doing a fraction and they're doing a fraction. Here's the question. What are our fractions?
It's like
Well, it takes 24 minutes for them to do the whole thing. So they both have 24 on the top. They both work for 24 minutes. But they can't both do an entire lot in 24 minutes. It only take Kyra to do a lot. So she did 24 divided by 40 of the lawn. How much did Mark do? 24 divided by whatever was left of the lawn. You're now going to get a common denominator and solve for x. Yeah, the one means they did it in one lawn. Yeah. Depends. If it said they could do 24 minutes in 2 lawns, then it'd be 2.
Okay, but it's just.
Exactly. It's just how much work they actually did.
So, if it's 50 on x on the bottom, would you multiply the other fraction by x, or would you?
Yes. Because what's your common denominator going to be? 40x. So this first one will become 24x. This next one will be 24 times 40. And the 1 will be times 40 and times x. It'll get both of them because it had nothing on the bottom. Can I erase my denominators? Yes, I can. Why can't I? They're all the same and there's an equal sign. So I'm stuck with 24x plus 960 is equal to 40x. I'm going to subtract 24x, so I get 960 is equal to 16x. And what's x equal to?
60.
Yeah. So how long did it take Mark to go along by himself? 60 minutes. Now here's the other thing with these questions, is if you set them up proper, you solved it proper, the answer should make sense. And by make sense, this is what I mean. If it takes her 40 minutes to mow a lawn, and then he joins her, if they worked at the exact same rate, how long should it take them to mow the lawn? 20 minutes. If they were equal workers, it would have been half the time. But they're not equal workers. Who was a lesser worker? Mark. Because it only came down to 24 minutes. If he was a better worker than her, it would have been less than 20. If he's a worse worker, it would have been more than 20. So, does our answer of 60 make sense? Yes. Makes him the worst worker.
Maybe he likes to cut it shorter or something.
Maybe he's really fat.
Maybe
I compared it to if me and Shaw were working together. She would crush me mowing down.
Imagine like
She's in way better shape than me. She would just fly, and I would just be cutting along.
Depends how many lawns.
Yeah,
It's like that's
crappy time.
I seriously imagine that Kyra's like one of those soccer moms pumped up on like protein bars.
Is that what soccer moms eat?
No, they eat banana bread.
If
That's what they eat. I'm a soccer mom.
That is so good.
That was gold, though, Julie.
True. I want to make. She doesn't know all the soccer.
Pure argument. No. No way protein bars. Nah. Bye.
It's in a bakery, they have this. Most of the short questions always
That's
say
like-
the same place. The same hour and the same time.
Yeah. Like they'll do it together. Yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. Like pita bread.
Yeah. Well, you could switch it up. So, Maya does ask a good question. Because it doesn't technically have to be the same lawn. Like you could have said, how long would it take them to cut a lawn that's half the size of the first lawn Kyra cut? In which case you would just say she cut 1/2 the lawn. Right? But the comparison always is the conditions and everything they're working with. So it's the same question London has, will it always be one? Not necessarily, they could have cut 2 lawns, but we assume that those lawns are all the same. So it's the same type of lawn, but it doesn't have to be
Instead of
one.
So instead of half a long, would you divide it into
You would just divide this by 2. And the numbers would be very small. Yeah, everything would shrink.
Instead of doing that, we should just find out how long it takes to cut one lawn and then
Yeah, that would also work.
save people.
We're almost there. Yeah, one more way to work question. Okay, this one's painting a garage. So Marissa can paint a garage door in 3 hours. When Marissa and Roger work together, they can paint the same garage in 1 hour. How long would it take for Roger to paint the garage door on his own? So Marissa is painting it green. She starts here, starts painting. Roger starts on the other side. They meet in the middle, they crash. She's done a fraction of the garage, he's done a fraction of the garage. That represents, if you add her fraction, how long it took her to do her fraction, and add how long it took him to do his fraction, that would be your total time it took to do one garage. So, you have some fraction plus some fraction equals one garage. How fast do they do it together? 1. How long does it take Marissa to do the garage? 3. How long does it take him? X. You're going to get a common denominator of 3x. So this will become x plus 3 equals 3x. You're going to subtract the other x over. So you have 3 is equal to 2x. Divide both sides by 2, and x is equal to 3 over 2. It's 3 over 2 of an hour, which is 1.5 or an hour and a half. So how fast could he paint a garage by himself? 1.5 hours. Keely.
Would you actually need to do like all the work? Or could you just do common sense?
Well, I heard some common sense answers and they were wrong.
You're wrong.
Yeah, common sense answers are usually wrong. Because most people would have looked at this and gone 2/3. And been like, oh, that's all it took him. Or it took him 2 hours, because 1 plus 2 hours would be 3 hours. I think that's common sense. And it is, and it's not that bad of common sense, but it's just lacking the fact that someone helped you work the other way. 3 over 2 is 1.5.
Oh, why did I think it was 6? Why did I think it was
You could try, Keely, to do common sense, and I'm going to show you on the next one why common sense it doesn't work as well. Because it makes sense, right? Like, you look at that and you can, a lot of people would think it's got to be 2 hours. So he does 2/3 of the garage in that 1 hour.
It's honestly just because
But it doesn't. They just should have did a better wage up there. Green goes forward. Okay, the proportion question. And I like this one because I would want to just do common sense in this question. My common sense would not give me the right answer. And this is how I would look at it. So, antifreeze is added to water. You have a bucket of water. To make the solution that is used in automobiles. How much antifreeze must be added to 12 liters of water to make a solution that contains 40% antifreeze? So I have a bucket of water. I want it to be 40% antifreeze. I'm a smart guy. 40% of 12, so 0.4 times 12 gives me 3 liters. That's how much antifreeze I need, right? 40% of 12. That's not right. And this is why it's not right. Can I borrow your calculator? Can I borrow your calculator? So, I thought two calculators in this classroom. They're both TI-84 pluses. But I don't want the percentage of the calculators to be 100% all TI-84 pluses. I want to have half of them TI-84 pluses and half of them TI-83 pluses. So I need to add enough TI-83 pluses to have 50%. Well, 50% of 2 means add 1, and I'll have 50% TI-83s.
Still be
But I don't. I have 1/3 TI-83s. Because you've increased the amount of calculators. You've increased the amount of liquid. When you added 3 liters to the water, you now have 15 liters of water. So now you can keep closing the gap. That's going to be a long process. Very long process. Like you could be like, 40% of 15 is going to be whatever it is. Let's punch one of my calculators.
Yeah, but it doesn't say it just says make a solution contains 40%. It doesn't say do not use.
How much antifreeze must be added to 12? I had 12 liters. If I add 3 liters, I have 15 liters of solution now.
So you gotta find 40%.
3 divided by 15 is 20%,
Yeah.
not 40%. So this is what you gotta do.
He took the amount of 40%.
Oh, that won't work either. I'll show you what to do. You've got to set it up. And the reason I say don't use logic is because that was great logic, it's just not right. It's got a hole in the bucket. Yeah?
So like, would I get 0.5 or 1?
No, you get 0 for that.
I thought you said if you try to think it's logic, you can.
That's good logic.
No, that's sucky logic.
You just said it was good logic.
You actually
It's good logic because that's what I would have thought. But it's got too big a hole in it. It's wrong. It's wrong, right? Here's what you need to do. What do we want our concentration level to be? 40%, which is just 0.1, right? Yeah. 40% logic, or 40% logic. That's about how logic that last question. 40% concentration means that the amount of antifreeze divided by the amount of total liquid must equal 40%. The total amount of liquid was 12 plus however much antifreeze I added. How much antifreeze did I add? X, some amount. So we're going to set up, our concentration level needs to be 40% antifreeze divided by total amount of liquid. You added this much antifreeze, so your total amount of liquid was 12 plus that much antifreeze. Yep. Get a common denominator of 12 plus x. Multiply that up there. You're going to have 0.4 times 12 plus x is equal to x. Point 4 times 12 is 4.8.
Wait, why did you do this?
plus I was thinking,
It's just well, right,
It just goes with some analogies.
yeah. 4.8 plus 0.4x is equal to x. Move my 0.4x to the other side. So I've got 4.8 is equal to 0.6x. Remember I subtracted 0.4 from both sides? 1 minus 0.4 is 0.6.
I definitely would have
Yeah, that's right. Right? I subtracted 0.4 x's from both sides. 4.8 divided by 0.6 is equal to how much antifreeze I need. How much did I need? Try to calculate. 8? So we've added 8 liters of antifreeze. Let's check if our answer makes sense. I had 12 liters of water. I added 8 liters of antifreeze. I now have 20 liters of crap. 8 divided by 20 is 40%. It works. And if you work, I remember doing this in high school, and I remember I always thought I was too good for the world. I always tried to do it my own way, and I used to do it like that. And then I would go, I figured out, oh yeah, that's not it, because I'm at 15 liters now. So then I would try to add the missing values until I got the right answer. And it would never work out. Like, it doesn't work. You've got to set it up like this. Otherwise, you're really just, like, guessing your way and just praying that you're going to end up with numbers that work. Non-effective. Okay, let's backtrack. Oh wait, no, we got one more set, don't we?
That is a lot.
Okay, this is a multiple choice question. This is something you're probably going to see. So let's say, instead of rather than solve the whole question, set up the question. So this would be a great multiple choice question. It takes Brett 6 hours longer to clean the house than it takes Danielle. Working together, they can clean the house in 4 hours. How long would it take each person working alone to clean the house? Which equation would you use to solve this problem? Okay, let's go through it together. So, how long does it take Danielle to clean the house? We don't know. Danielle takes the amount of time to clean the house. How long does it take Brett to clean the house? Brett is equal to T plus 6. 6 hours longer than Danielle.
Dang.
I feel like this question's a little sexist. Maybe it was Danielle. No sexism at school. No. There would be no Elliot here. Not that.
He's just trying to cross it out.
Michelle is.
So I'm pretty sure I've seen a Michelle spelled Michael. Yeah, or maybe it was like
Michelle.
like if you.
That's Michelle, that's Michael.
But isn't there more than one Michelle? Yeah. So look, I'll test it right now.
Okay, wait. That's that question and ask Siri. Wait,
Ask Siri.
wait. Let's do the question and ask Siri.
No.
Do you want to call Michael's? No. Ellie, we'll do this and then you can do it. Okay. If we were to set this up, it's going to be the fraction that Brett did plus the fraction Danielle did equals 1 clean house. What's the fraction that Brett took?
4 divided by 2.
Yeah, 4 hours divided by 6 plus T. So 4 hours is how much they work together. He did 6 plus T of the work, plus Danielle did 4 divided by just T. That's 1 clean house. Then match up which one makes sense. That's one that matches up, right?
Would she have slowed him down?
Wait. No, shit, slow down.
No, she slowed her down.
Let's solve it. So, well, it's a good question. Because it looks like he slowed her down, but he didn't. Your common denominator would be 6 plus t times t. So you would have 4t plus so all I did was I multiplied it in, right? Multiply that 4 in. You're going to have 8 t's plus 4 equals 6t plus t squared. Move everything to one side. T squared minus 2t minus 2.
It's annoying, right?
When you people talk your way through questions, well, people are trying to listen to someone talking through the question because they're hearing 17 different numbers and they're trying to pay attention to one person talking. And I get you're just trying to work through a question. It'd be like a few you do it, Calvin, you do it all the time. You talk your way through questions, and that's great. You do it in your head because people are trying to listen.
It's frustrating tests because I like try and guess where
Things that multiply to be negative 24 and add to be 2.
Well, negative 12. No, 6, 4.
There you go.
So how long could she clean the house by herself?
4 hours.
Womp. 6 hours. Remember that's x minus 6.
So it takes like 12 hours to clean the house?
Yeah. It sounds about right.
Well,
It actually only takes us 6 hours, but then we have to play 6 hours of video games. Okay, ask Siri. So, Julie.